All this for a couple of these. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rookie Season. Today we're doing something a little different. We're not going hunting, we're not going ice fishing. We're technically going fishing, but not rod and reel. We're gonna go scalloping with drags, and this is gonna be a really cool video. I'm back on Cape Cod for Christmas to my childhood home, and we're gonna be fishing out of this boat right here. What makes this boat so cool is that my dad actually built it, and he modeled it after the first boat he ever owned when he was 12 years old. And we're actually using the draggers that he bought when he was a teenager. He went in, redid them, got them all fixed up, and now he's going to take me out and show me how he made a living back in the day. My first memory of scalloping with my father comes from when I was early on in middle school and able to brave 60 to 65 degree water swimming in it without a concern in the world. And he'd bring my brother and I out and give us each a pair of goggles and a snorkel and some flippers and put a life jacket on us and tie the life jacket to the boat so that way we didn't swim too far, and he'd have us swim all over the place, scooping up oysters off of the bottom in about 7 feet of water with a net, and it was the time of our lives. Eventually, my brother and I grew to dislike swimming in the cold water, and him being a good father didn't make us keep swimming in the water. So after staring at his drags from when he was a teenager for years, he finally decided to redo them, build a boat to go fishing out of, and go back to dragging for scallops like he did when he was a kid. So we're trying to get over there, but the bay's frozen over, so we're gonna have to cut out and around this island to try to see if it's open up on the other side over there. When's the first time you did this?
Probably late 70s, early 80s. Long time ago. It's been downhill ever since, meaning scallops just on around like they used to be.
Overfished or eelgrass or?
You're blaming a lot of the runoff from septics, sewers, and lawn fertilizer. It's killing the spat, which reproduces the scallops. We lost all the eelgrass, died over the years. You find some small spots here and there, but there's not a lot of eelgrass around. And that's where the spat clings to when they spawn and stuff. But this year hasn't been too bad. It's probably the best year I've had in probably a dozen years or so. So never scalloped this late in the season. But they're around, they're still here. We'll see what comes up in the drags after a couple of toes. Sometimes it takes more than one toe to get kind of honed right into where we want to be. There's always a little sweet spot between the current, the tides, and whatnot. They find these little shoals and shells. We want to try to find that as well, and we'll get them.
How many people do you see dragging like this?
Years ago, when I was around, there would be 200 boats plus fishing commercially. In the past 10 years, I don't think there's been a dozen people that have fished commercially. This year, I don't believe there's anybody fishing commercially, and I know there was no one fishing commercially last year.
At least in this town.
At least in the town of Bourne, right. They still get scallops in Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, probably a little bit down Cape, but on the Upper Cape, there's not so much. As far as dragging goes, myself and maybe one other guy has been dragging in town for the past couple of years. Other than that, there's no one else dragging. Nobody has a setup like this, because it's something, the boat and the drags are designed just really for scalloping and cohogging and whatnot. And most people just it's not really worth the effort. But I kind of enjoy it.
You had to redo these drags all yourself, right?
Yeah. So the drags, the rings rust out, and they have to be replaced. They last probably 3 or 4 years, and I had to redo all my drags. The netting gets brittle and breaks and everything, so you really have to redo the entire drags every couple of years.
All this for a couple of these.
Not fishing. The chains need to rattle and stuff, and that flips them all up with all this slime. Just prevents all that. What's all about that?
So if the population's in that big of a decline, what do you think about those that think you shouldn't be fishing for them?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter because they only live 18 months, then they die.
Now, all of these that we're catching, they've already dispersed their seed and their young, correct?
Yep.
So these guys will be dead and they're not reproducing anymore.
Yeah.
While pulling the drags, it was awesome to listen to my dad talk about how things used to be back when he was younger, when he first started pulling drags himself, talking about how there used to be 100 boats ready at the boat ramp on the opening day of the season, ready to go pull the drags to try to make a couple bucks, and how one pass, like what we were doing today, hoping for 10 to 15 scallops in each pass, used to yield hundreds of them. It does put into perspective that a lot of resources that we might not think about very often, such as a scallop, is a very perishable one. And when that resource perishes, so does the skills and traditions that go alongside harvesting that resource, such as dragging.
Grab a scallop. That was good from the dark side. That's the bottom. Yeah. That's what's on the bottom of the ocean. So you went to the side, watch me. As you went, just kind of cut the top of the shell. Straight right along the top, as far as it's not go. And some of these are so big, you gotta open up a little bit, and you're gonna go in there. Just a little nick. Okay. Fold the shell. Right. See how there's no scallop on that shell? Yeah. You got it all. Oh, you're going too far forward. Wait a minute. You're backwards. Hold it like that. Put it on that side. You're going into here. Open as meats for the level open. Okay, okay, now you want to take your knife, go into the back side, underneath the guts. So you can use a little gravity. Okay. Guts, get with the tongue, cut off that brown crap. Nice.
To cook my scallops, I like to use a time-tested recipe, which is simply just bacon wrapped. For these, I used 1/3 of a slice of bacon per scallop, and I placed them into a preheated oven at 375 degrees and just cooked them until the bacon was cooked all the way through, which took about 15 minutes. My brother Mitchell, on the other hand, prefers his pan-fried. All he does is melt some butter in a pan with some minced garlic, pats them dry, and then throws them in the pan, along with a little salt, pepper, and just a little bit of garlic powder and onion powder, and just keeps them moving in the pan until they're cooked all the way through. It's a nice, simple recipe that really lets the flavor of the scallop come through and doesn't overpower it like the bacon-wrapped scallops can.